A lot of us are following the Titan submersible tragedy. Perhaps you are too. Now, there's a question that's not being asked here. And if you keep this question in mind, and particularly take this back to your workplace, you're going to be able to save a lot of headaches and maybe even save loss of life. And that is the requirements waiver process. Now, a lot of programs have a process where if there's a requirement that can't be met or can't be tested, there's some type of waiver process or allowance process that permits the final product or system to be approved, to be verified and then validated, maybe even certified, and then not every specified requirement met. This could be requirements that somehow involve testing where the equipment just doesn't exist, or the requirement somehow cannot be verified once the product is fully assembled. Now, there are plenty of techniques to do simulation and then to do analysis to give us confidence that the overall requirements are met. But there are cases where it might be simpler just to have a waiver on a certain requirement if the technical subject matter experts weigh in and people have consensus that, okay, this is an acceptable thing to do. Now, here's the thing. It's tempting to use this waiver process for requirements that maybe should stay there. For instance, speculating here, but if you had a life safety medical device, you probably don't want to waive the requirement that it not contain any harmful paint or coatings on it if it's going to be implanted, let's say, as a pacemaker. Okay, that requirement should not be waived. So in this requirements process, usually there are configuration control boards and there's management review, sometimes executive review. But the caution here and the takeaway is just make sure that no core requirement is waived that has to stay put. An example on the Titan, and there's no evidence they've done this, but a requirement of withstanding pressure, I believe it was 6,000 pounds per square inch on the hull, hydrostatically, outward pushing in, that requirement is one that should not be waived. Now, there's some question that the Titan wasn't certified to that depth, and that's the type of thing where you'd have a requirement that you need to validate, okay, hull integrity at great pressures, and there you'd go out to a certification agency just to give you that evidence and that deep testing to ensure that you meet this one requirement that has to stay, okay, that you cannot waive that requirement just because it's hard or certification is expensive, for instance. Again, not speculating on the Titan specifically, but if you look at the news reports, it did appear that it was not certified to dive to that depth. Comment below what your thoughts are. Do you have a requirements waiver process, and how do you ensure that the process isn't abused for the sakes of cost and schedule? So let me know in the comments.